And humongous muddy rivers need humongous bloody bridges. And in this department, both Grimsbys boast one nearby that with so many bees that I feel like I've been stung. Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to my hometown. You may recall my video on American cities that took English naming to a new level. Indeed, just this week I shocked the world when I revealed on Twitter that the English city of Manchester has been involved in a secret plot to colonize America. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is YouTube sensation Lawrence Brown and America's finest British import. But that's not important right now. What's important is this. As a child and even later as a human, I spent 20 years of my life living in the English town of Grimsby. And recently I discovered that in addition to having a relatively populated namesake in Ontario, Grimsby has one and only one US equivalent. And as chance would have it, America's Grimsby is situated in the very state from which I am now speaking, Illinois. In American terms, we're practically neighbours, just without you. And as we've seen in previous videos, many of America's English namesakes significantly outgrew their English counterparts. So what about Grimsby? Well, let's compare my English hometown with its American namesake. We can't compare these two towns without looking at their history. Grimsby, England. My hometown was settled by the Danes in the late 800s during the Viking invasion of England. Legend has it that the town was named for a Danish fisherman named Grim, the most Viking-sounding name in the history of everything. Toward the end of the next millennia, the town would grow into one of the most important and largest fishing ports in the world. And while it's no longer the behemoth that it once was, many remnants still exist of its glory days. Much to absolutely nobody's surprise, Grimsby, Illinois is considerably younger. Its earliest marked grave dates back to only 1892, when I was just 4. And it's unclear how this unincorporated community came to be, and therefore there's no concrete evidence that it was even named after my hometown. It just helps me sleep at night thinking that it is. But it might have followed the Portland rule. Portland, Oregon was not named after Portland, England, but after Portland, Maine, which was named after Portland, England. It's possible that Grimsby, Illinois either took its name from Grimsby, Ontario, or it was named after settlers who were unfortunate enough to have Grimsby as a last name. My money is on the latter. 1880 census records indicate that there were people with the last name Grimsby occupying just 4 states. In Illinois, this appears to have been one family who admittedly lived 150 miles away in Hardin. Perhaps this Grimsby family took a ride down the Mississippi River as I did more than 100 years later, and bought themselves a sweet plot of land. Speaking of census records, Grimsby, England is so old that it was featured in the Doomsday Book of 1086, when it had a population of just 200 cows. And so with that in mind, let's take a look at the population numbers for both Grimsbys today. The thing you have to understand about England is that it is significantly more densely populated than America. So when I tell you that an averagely sized town like Grimsby nonetheless has a population of 90,000 people, that's why. Actually, my producers are now reminding me that the approximate population of Grimsby has since shrunk to 89,999 since I left. Either way, compared to Grimsby, Illinois, its population is significantly higher. And that's because in Grimsby, Illinois, the population is just a few hundred, plus a horse called Brad. So basically, Grimsby, Illinois is where Grimsby, England was in the 11th century. Who knows, perhaps in another 1,000 years it will do what my hometown did. Undergo major housing development, significantly expand its population, and become the inspiration for a film by the descendants of Sacha Baron Cohen. In many ways, Grimsby and Grimsby have strikingly different landscapes, and I've just realised that Grimsby and Grimsby sounds like a terrible law firm. Grimsby, England is a coastal town, hugging the banks of the North Sea in a similar manner to how a cat might hug the leg of a human. Stop it. Grimsby, Illinois, on the other hand, is arable, surrounded as it is by cornfields. But something that my British viewers should know is that's most of Illinois. The entire state is one big corn on the cob, which is useful because this collection of states is shaped like a chef. But one thing I often forget about my hometown is that it is also surrounded by farmland. In many ways, with its crops and flat arable land, The county of Lincolnshire could arguably be Britain's answer to America's Midwest, minus raccoons. Despite its bleak name and the actual road of Grime Street furthering this reputation, Grimsby, England has had its brush with show business. Not only have countless singers performed there, but Elton John himself recorded a song bearing its name. The song was written by his longtime collaborator Bernie Taupin, who in his youth spent some time in Grimsby and nearby Market Raisin. Actually, this is a funny story. After witnessing gang violence in the area, Taupin was inspired to write a little number called Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. My town was also the inspiration for the 2016 Sacha Baron Cohen film Grimsby, or as it's known in America, The Brothers Grimsby. The film was mostly shot in Essex and by all accounts crap. The only remotely newsworthy event involving Grimsby, Illinois, is that police once tracked down an armed gunman and arrested him near the community church in the year 2000. That's about it. In addition to the fact that both Grimsby and Grimsby are surrounded by crops and have no hills between them, there are some other surprising similarities. Firstly, yes, dirty rivers. Grimsby, UK features a river called the River Freshney. A river so filthy, a random stranger once told me this.
Loads of in that river.
And not to be outdone, Grimsby, Illinois features a river so filthy, it's literally called Big Muddy River. For context, Big Muddy River is a join to the Mississippi, a humongous muddy river. And humongous muddy rivers need humongous bloody bridges. And in this department, both Grimsbys boast one nearby that with so many bees that I feel like I've been stung. And so I know what you're thinking, whoop-de-doo, there are bridges nearby. Well, these aren't just any bridges, and in the interest of not keeping you in suspense, they're suspension bridges. See what I did there? That's right, just 10 miles outside of Grimsby, Illinois is the Grand Tower Pipeline Bridge. And while it's much smaller in size, it doesn't look too dissimilar to the Humber Bridge. This almighty suspension bridge, once the longest of its kind in the world, is just 15 to 20 miles away from Grimsby, and sadly, leads to Hull. And speaking of roads, that brings me on to the imaginatively titled Grimsby Road. Not only is there a Grimsby Road in Grimsby, Illinois and near to Grimsby, England, but in both cases it's one of the main roads. Actually, in Illinois' case, it's one of the only roads. Amusingly, one of its others is called Lover's Lane, presumably where the sheep get up to no good. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below if you live in an American town that was named after an English one. And for more maps, facts, and stats and pictures of my cat, why not follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS. And as ever, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. A Mississippi-sized thank you to all of my patrons who make these videos possible. If you would like to become a patron of Lost in the Pond, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. Until next time, ta-ra!